Yo, welcome back to Sinister Customs, and today we're going to talk about the AX24. So, instead of, well, I did go out and buy a new one, but before that, I decided I would buy all the parts I needed to build my own. Unfortunately, the ESC and the lower skid are on back order. So, did not have all the parts I needed to build a full AEX24. However, I did get the chassis, the Slayer chassis from Texoma RC. So I thought I would build kind of what I think everybody kind of wanted to see in the AX24. A low center of gravity chassis, battery sits up front nice and low, you know, an 050 motor, a little bit bigger motor, since they're working with Spektrum now, you know, just a little bit bigger servos, or a little better servos. These probably aren't much better, but a little bit anyway. Again, since I don't have the ESC, yeah, it's got the Spektrum 5-channel in there, and just some Amazon ESC, but yeah, so I'm sure their ESC would run fine in this, but something a little more low center of gravity. The shocks that do come with it, I mean, they're great and all. With this chassis, they're a little too long they keep it up too high and too bouncy, so I just have the factory SEX24 shocks on there. I'm running the Rock Lizard tires on the Mofo Lone Star 1.2 wheels. So got them stretched over there. That'd be something else, you know, that would be nice to see on a stock rig. Maybe a bigger wheel and a bigger tire. Well, they already did the bigger tire, but, you know, a little different wheel option maybe. But, yeah. So that's what I turned my Slayer chassis into. It's kind of a wannabe AX24. Texoma RC. But, so yeah, I've got all these parts sitting here. And then we can kind of go over a little bit more in depth, seeing as they're not on a rig. First off, we can look at the shocks. They do have this little bump stop in there you could probably take out. I don't know if that's going to get it much more travel. We can probably just take a cap off and see how close the... So yeah, you're already pretty much right at the top. Is there room for it to go into the cap? Oh, losing stuff already. There it is. So I might go into the cap a little bit. Taking that little bump stop out might gain you a little bit, but I doubt it'll gain much. Got the micrometers here. So starting off with the shocks. Center of ball to the center. So we're around 50 millimeters. Let's compress them all the way. So all the way compressed, around 36. Yeah. Somewhere around there, all the way compressed. The drive shafts are different lengths because the transmission sits a little bit farther forward. The male shaft is the same length on both sides. Guess we'll do it all together. sure we're zeroed out still. So 50.4. And about 42.25. Then the links for the axles are the same front and rear. They do have the upper ones. If you can see it, they've got a nice little bend to them. But the upper ones are like they're going to be about 37.5. The lower ones, $57.6. Get that a little straighter. So about 57.6. So yeah, those are your link sizes and shocks. These little guys here are your body mounts. This is your chassis, or actually this is your chassis. It's hard to pick up. There we go. So that's your chassis, and then that's your battery tray. I guess you'd call it battery and ESC tray. Then I believe it's your shocks mount up in here. Then your links all mount to there. And of course, I don't have the lower skid, so I can't show you that. Well, I can on the other rig. I'll show you that in a minute. And those are just your little side skids. It's got the little light buckets. But yeah, those are pretty much all the parts. And so I see a lot of people complaining, like I said, you know, with this one being the low center of gravity, that's how they would have liked it. The other one's too top heavy, bouncy. Oh, and there are the new wheels and tires. Rock Lizards. But saying it's too top heavy, bouncy, doesn't make for a very good crawler because of that. Everybody's happy, you know, with the new ESC, and that they've got introduced the all-wheel steer coming in a factory rig. And I think people are just looking at it wrong. So I think they're, you know, looking at this rig as a crawler. In all fact, it was meant to be a monster truck. I mean, the top-heavy bounciness, all that. Tires fit right on. Very minimal rubbage. Got the all-wheel steer, of course. That ESC putting the extra power to the servos puts extra power to the motor as well. That's why it doesn't slow crawl as well, people say. It's because that ESC is putting out more power, so that motor just wants to go more. Well, you put a little bit bigger motor in these things. So, and an 050 will fit just barely. I mean, ever so slightly. So there's a buzzsaw in this one. A little bit bigger motor. And, I mean, this thing moves. Not only that, is I tested out this ESC, just like the V1s, will do 3S as well. So you can run 3S on this ESC with a bigger motor. You know, you might have to make room if you want to do like a P90 or something like that. But yeah, I think this would make an awesome little monster truck as a rig. You already got the all-wheel steer like the monster trucks do. Decent little wheelbase, so you can get backflips, that kind of thing. Get wheelies pretty easy. You know, it's already got the suspension travel for the jumps. Like, I think it was meant to be a monster truck, not really a crawler. That's the right way. And then, of course, the way the body fits in there nice, so that way rollovers, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, so there's the skid I'm missing on the other one. Let's go and take that body off again. So Spectrum, I did try binding it with, I have the Rugged, and it would not bind to the Rugged. So that'd be cool if it did that, but it's still the new controller it comes with the you know, options there for the rear steer and everything. I mean, that's pretty sweet and works really well when you're driving. But yeah, all in all, for, you know, complaint wise, it's basically everything you're going to see on anybody else's channel is just a little top heavy, bouncy. All that can be remedied with some new shocks. You know, even modifying these shocks could take care of a lot of that and bring this down lower. The other thing would be trying to get the battery forward more or something, or get the ESC down more. I mean, just getting this bulk up here as low as you possibly can would definitely make it a better crawler. But really, it's not that bad. I did see on a lot of other people's channels, and did really notice on this is the bolts were really loose for the servo savers. The screws were. So made it almost impossible when I first got it. Tried crawling it and everything. I did take it out and try crawling it for a little while. Again, I came up with everything everybody else was saying about it. It's just, it rolls over all the time. You can get used to it and get to crawling pretty good, but I mean, even a stock SEX 24, in my opinion, crawled way better. I mean, you could just throw a rear steer on that. I think it's $25 for the axle, something like that, and then you need a servo. And yeah, then I think you can go get this controller for 35, so 35, something like 60, around 60 bucks or something. You can get the controller and the ESC. But since I got this one with this controller, I'm just going to use this controller to run both these ESCs for both these trucks when I get it in from Horizon. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be. They did, however, send me a thing on my email asking how the ESC was. I didn't know how to respond, seeing as I hadn't got it yet. So, but yeah, for a monster truck, I mean, this thing, I think it works perfectly. Suits it well, in my opinion. Those are the Mofo monster truck tires. I don't know, like, the Endura. I haven't tried the Endura yet, so I don't know if the offset on the wheels, you know, if you just got those and tried bolting them on, you might need the spacers so they wouldn't rub. But, oh, and if you are getting one of these, another thing is be sure to set your endpoints. I mean, that's the biggest way to break your axle shafts, is not having your endpoints set. And I don't know how to on the rear. I looked through the manual. I messed with the controller, tried, you know, maybe if I hold this down or that up, or, you know, any of that, to try to get it to where I could get into a way I could mess with that rear endpoint to where it is not as far as the front, but, or not endpoint, but what am I thinking of? Just this thing, your rate, wherever, how it's adjusted so it doesn't do that crab walk. I could not find a way to get it to where you could actually adjust the rear. I believe the endpoint on the rear, let's see that right now. I'm actually not sure about that. Motor wire gets in the way a little bit. So yeah, that's your endpoint right there. But now if I go to the rear. Okay, so yeah, your endpoints actually do set throughout both. But it's just, when you're trying to adjust it, you can only adjust the front. So you can adjust the front to go in line with the rear, to where it's somewhat going straight, but you're always somewhat dog walking. You can mess with your adjustment here and definitely put O-rings to keep that floppiness. So that's one thing I need to do on this, is you get those little, I think I saw one laying around here, those little O-rings that come in all your link sets and all that, and you can just put them in underneath your steering link there on the ball, and you can put one up here too. That gets rid of that floppiness. So you can see how floppy that one is compared to how not floppy that one is. So, but yeah, all in all, it's exciting to see a new chassis. I'm excited to see what people are going to do with the new chassis and the longer shocks. So, it should be interesting. Well, have a good one, everybody. Oh, actually, if you want to see the wheel speed real quick on 2S, that's the Buzzsaw 2S. Grab a 3S battery real quick. Thought I had one laying around. Alright, I'll just show real quick. 3S. So that was 2S. Here is a Mofo 200 mAh 3S. Yeah. Quite a bit more wheel speed. Yeah, this thing wanted to be a monster truck. Well, have a good one, everyone.